Welcome back to another ValueBytes episode. Today, I'm excited to have the founders of Workplace Labs here with me. Jonathan and Neil, thank you so much for hopping on to talk about AI and how business owners can use AI to generate some really great job descriptions and what that actually means for the business. Let's kick this off with some introductions. Jonathan, tell me just a little bit about how you got to this place and what y'all are doing over at Workplace Labs.
Thank you, Heather, for having us. And I am an AI engineer. I've been developing enterprise software for over a decade for billion-dollar enterprises. And for the last 2 years, I've been primarily building AI agents for companies. And it is just incredible how powerful these AI solutions can be when you figure out how to leverage them the right way.
And Neil, you want to tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, so I'm an organizational psychologist, which is a little bit different than an AI engineer, but Jonathan and I work pretty well together at Workplace Labs because, our mission and vision is to help companies with better technology adoption. And right now that means better AI adoption. So one of the ways that we do that is by training folks on how to use AI, but we also build small tools and products like an AI job description writer to help bring AI into how their operations are going and how they get people working with and through technology. So it's pretty cool to see that come to life.
That's awesome. And I love the idea of taking this big concept of technology adoption and how can you use AI and funneling it down to something that's so specific and useful as writing job descriptions. We recently hired someone new, and unfortunately, I'd already written that job description when y'all told me what you were working on, because you could have saved me a lot of time, because that's a lot more difficult than it sounds like it's going to be. And so how do you kind of look at, we've got this tool that does this very specific but important task, and draw the line to what the bigger purpose is here behind your overall project and what you're trying to do?
Yeah, it's a great question because I think many folks who are listening right now have probably tried to use ChatGPT to write a job description. Maybe you did this with your latest hire. You at least start with a rough draft in ChatGPT. But what ChatGPT struggles with is when it doesn't have enough context about what you're working on and where your business is at. And yeah, there are some ways to build that in, but essentially what we've done is create a workflow with an instruction set and a knowledge base that gives it enough context so that it's like you'd be sitting next to me, who's a workplace psychologist and a person that's thinking and writing job descriptions and thinking about all the components and would kind of walk you through that process. We try to recreate that in a workflow using a custom GPT and set of custom GPTs to get you to that end goal. So the bigger vision of this is to make sure that you can use the technology that you already have access to, but use it in a very personalized, effective way using best practices and making sure those best practices don't live in a book somewhere or in someone's head. They're at your fingertips.
Yeah, that's so important. And we use ChatGPT quite a bit in our business, and it's definitely easy to kind of fall prey to that trap of just being kind of good enough baseline level, what you can get out of it. So I love that y'all are building this in a way that creates, something that's really high quality. And taking a sidestep from the AI piece of this, I'd love to talk more about just the act of hiring and why it's so important to have that right job description that's going to get someone who's a really quality fit for the job, and what that means as far as coming in and having the personality and culture fit, not just the technical skills or the hard skills to do the job.
Yeah, I'm sure Jonathan has some stories from the front lines with this, but I'll share you sort of the theoretical reasons behind it. And it's that when someone is hired for a job, there's the demands of the job, and then the characteristics and abilities and skills and everything that that person brings with them. And so making that best hiring decision is ensuring that you've got a good fit or overlap between those two sides of that equation. What a job description does is it really specifies what you're looking for on both sides. So it really outlines the demands of the job and then what someone needs to bring with them and what you'd be looking for. So if you're not really sure all of the things that the job demands, and sure, people can go and look up, what are the responsibilities, what are some of the qualifications, but if you don't really know what the job entails and how it exists today, you might be setting yourself off on looking for the wrong things. And then if you don't know how that translates into some of the human characteristics and attributes and those qualifications that you're looking for, you really are kind of going off in the wrong direction. I'm really passionate about job descriptions actually because I think they're these unsung heroes of really setting you out in the right direction, and they have all these like downstream consequences. If you don't do that part right and you're not going in the right direction, then your hiring decisions can be wrong. Expectations with new hires can be wrong. Performance expectations can be wrong. Training and development paths, all of that stuff kind of feeds from that hypothesis that you have up front, and the job description just kind of puts that in front of you in writing. It's really important.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm curious now hearing you talk through that. One thing that I find difficult to do because it's not my day-to-day job is to kind of just get out on the table what are all those qualifications and responsibilities, and especially when you're writing a job description for a role that maybe hasn't really existed before, that's really hard to do. And so
Yes.
the GPT that y'all have built, does it help sort through some of those unknowns of, well, I didn't even think about all of these details that needed to go into a job description?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Go ahead, Jonathan.
And part of what part of the way that we were very intentional about designing it is that it's not a, type in, hey, I want a job description for this, and then boom, it spits out a job description. It will actually ask you questions and start to fill out what is required in a really high quality job description. It'll guide you. It'll even bring out some of the snippets from Neil's research and share some of those insights with you to kind of help guide you through creating a really high quality job description. And a lot of that requires some back and forth and maybe even sending off some emails to some other members of your team to try to get more details about what's really required for this role. And one of the aspects that is maybe more cutting edge is that we did a lot of research on human and AI collaboration. And so part of the research that's embedded into this assistant is going to help you incorporate, artificial intelligence skills into your job descriptions so that you can include those and find candidates who are leveraging artificial intelligence to do their jobs better.
Oh, interesting. So it sounds like you're really trying to help owners shift into this world of trusting AI to be able to do some heavy lifting, take some of that load off. And so, for those people that are still really skeptical, right? Maybe all they've seen is like the junk that you can get out of ChatGPT, and they're thinking there's no way that I could use that to make such an important decision as far as how I'm going to start my hiring process. What are some ways that you can help address those concerns and prove that there really is an ability to get high quality output from an AI generated job description like this?
I think it really comes down to, um, I mean, if you really, keep asking this thing, just give me a job description, it'll give you a job description and it won't be very good. But if you actually engage with it in dialogue, answer its questions, put some effort into researching the answers to those questions, it's going to go through, kind of a tried and true template and research that we've embedded into the model. And you're going to end up with something really quickly that's a lot higher quality than what you would have done if you'd sat down and started writing a job description 5 minutes ago.
Mm. Okay. I like it. I like it. And so if an owner's like, okay, I want to try this. I'm gonna I'm going to give it a little test run. What's a way that they could just sort of dip their toe in without having to fully turn over writing job descriptions to AI?
So probably the easiest way is we have a free trial. And so you can get on there and you could start by asking it, how can you help me? And it'll talk to you and it'll tell you a little bit about how it will help you. And or you could just go ahead and paste in maybe an existing job description and it'll analyze that and give you some feedback on how you can start going about improving it.
Oh, that's great. So if you already have job descriptions you've written, you can go in and make them better without having to just completely start over.
Yes.
Okay, I like that.
And one thing about this GPT process that we have is that it's designed to have you in that process. It's not going out and scraping the web or pulling in information and writing something and serving it up to you. It's getting you to work alongside it so that you have some visibility into the steps that you're going through, into the inputs, and you should recognize the output when it comes out. But it's helping you walk through that process and ended up in a better place than you probably could have done on your own.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, we're gonna have to see an example of this before we wrap up today because I think it's one of those things that you have to see it to believe it and to understand how it can work. So we'll
Sure.
definitely make time for that. So give me an idea though of how a tool like this fits into kind of the broader ecosystem of solutions for business owners, or even for HR departments, people that maybe they have someone already or a team of people that are responsible for this. What is Workplace Labs building to help make their lives easier and to make their business run better?
Yeah, so one way we look at it is we want you to get value and adoption of the technology that you already have access to. So one part of this is that these custom GPTs work right inside ChatGPT. So if you already have a team instance of ChatGPT, you can already start to go through this workflow and get value from it. But if you can take the output of this process, then that quality job description can feed into your ATS. It can feed into any kind of sourcing tools that you might use, any automated sourcing tools. There are tons of them out there. It might even feed into some evaluation criteria that you've set. Uh, Jonathan and I have also worked with some assessment companies to help them think through how they can use AI to help create better assessments. So sometimes just having those criteria can help you, again, set sort of the standards and what are the steps that you'd have job candidates going through. So, rather than it being integrated into every other system out there, you're getting value from the tools that you already have access to, but you're ultimately getting something that will feed sort of the insight and the workflows for other tools that are built for purpose that you might be using.
That's great. Okay, let's take a second and see this thing in action because I think we've talked around it enough that now we can take a look at how this actually works.
So here's a conversation I started with the job description builder, and I just pasted in a job description. You can see it's fairly short and brief. This is probably not going to entice the best candidates. And so in response, Ava introduces herself because that's what we decided to name her. And she comes in and with some quick diagnosis. She's not just responding with a improved job description based off of nothing but thin air. Um, it actually is analyzing it first, giving you some feedback on what's good, what's missing, gives you some context around why improving this job description is going to have an impact on your hiring success. And then it gives you some next steps and starts asking you questions about about the hiring process and about what level it is and if there's any pressing challenges that need to be solved by this role. Anything you want to add to that, Neil?
I think some people looking at this might be like, well, I don't know the answers to some of these questions, but this is where it would be good to maybe pull in partners or current employees, anyone, maybe advisors that could help you answer these and just get a little bit of input from them. Especially anyone that's already currently in a job like this, getting any input from them would really go a long, long way to making sure that you have a right understanding of what the job is like today and on the ground in the context. Because the biggest mistake that you can make is just copy and pasting a job description, thinking that that is going to be what is reflective of what's going on in the job today. So just getting a little bit of input using some of these feeder questions will really set you up for a lot more success. But that's where the AI can really walk you through that process.
And how are you using the research and the other components that you've built into this to understand what is going on in the job market and making sure that, these job descriptions stay current and competitive and really are going to be attractive to those best fit candidates?
So where the research comes in is there's a whole methodology called work analysis or job analysis that can help you break down jobs into more granular pieces. The tasks that involved, the knowledge, skills, abilities, other characteristics that are involved. These are the kind of the ground truth and inputs that go into a lot of like the very high quality manual job descriptions that are created today. So instead of hiring or going and finding and learning all about job analysis and having someone do that for you, this is supposed to walk you through that process so that you get some of those inputs that are, you know, in reality, that they are reflective of what's going on today in the market. So rather than saying, well, we're going to pull in all of this outside data and just trust that it's right, we want to walk you through that sort of best practice process, but in a very simple way. And the AI helps with that.
That's great. And so for people who are watching this and thinking, okay, I want to give it a try. I'm going to dip my toe in. I'm going to have a little faith and see what AI can do for me. Where can they connect with you to find this job description assistance or just to learn more about how you can help them with their technology adoption within their organization?
So the best place is to go to workplacelabs.io. Should have had a slide or something, but it's
It's all right. We'll put it on the screen.
workplacelabs.io. And and then we'll also put on the screen, a URL to go directly to the job description builder, where we kind of describe and talk a little bit more about what's included in the solution. And you'll see a link to do a free trial where you get a few messages that you can do for free, and then a link to purchase it. And we're also including a coupon code to take $15 off.
Awesome. Well, thank y'all again so much. I'm excited to see what you come up with next to make life a little easier for business owners and HR leaders. And thanks again for joining me on Value Bites.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Heather.
Heather.